You'll never be anything without us. That's what my mom screamed at me the night she threw my clothes onto the porch and slammed the door. I was 17. No money, no backup. Just a bag full of clothes, a half-dead phone, and the sound of my stepdad laughing behind the window. Before we go on, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you've ever been underestimated. This story will make you feel every emotion you've been hiding for years. I slept in my car that night. A 2002 Toyota Corolla with one working window and no heat. I remember holding onto my laptop like it was gold. Not because it was expensive, it wasn't. It was cracked, slow, and barely charged. But it had my life in it. A few lines of code. A dream I couldn't let go. See, my parents always said dreams were for rich kids. They told me to get a job at the gas station like my stepbrother Matt. He's stable, my dad said. Matt stocked chips and played video games every night. And he was the successful one. I didn't tell them I was learning to code. I didn't tell them I was working nights at a warehouse just to afford Wi-Fi at a rundown motel. I didn't tell them about the 3 failed app launches that crashed within days. But I also didn't stop, and 5 years later, they had no idea. The guy they mocked, kicked out, and blocked from every family gathering was now quietly building something that would change everything. I wasn't invited to Christmas dinners anymore. No birthday calls, nothing. I watched from afar as Matt bought a used Mustang and bragged about it on Facebook. Mom commented with heart emojis. My posts? Always ignored until last week, until my little cousin posted a photo of me standing next to a sleek black car with the caption, "My cousin just bought a 1.7 meters house in cash." That's when my phone exploded. 27 missed calls, 13 texts from my mom. Even Matt messaged me, "Bro, is that real?" I left them all on read. But then, something happened last night that changed everything. And it all started with a dinner invitation I never expected. The restaurant was expensive, like $500 per plate expensive. I almost laughed when I saw who reserved the table. Dad, Mom, and Matt. The same 3 people who once told me I was a waste of space. Now they were waiting for me at a luxury rooftop steakhouse they clearly couldn't afford on their own. Showed up late on purpose, black suit, Rolex, the kind of entrance that turns heads. As I walked in, Matt's eyes widened like he'd seen a ghost. My mom stood up with this fake smile glued to her face, like she forgot she once told me, "You'll die broke." "Wow, you look successful," she said, like it was painful to admit. I didn't sit. I just leaned in and said, "You wanted to talk?" Matt started with some small talk. "So, what do you do now?" I could feel the tension. He was sweating under his cheap blazer. "I build things," I said, sipping the $80 scotch they'd already ordered for me. "Things people actually use." My dad jumped in. "We always knew you were smart, just misunderstood." Misunderstood? Is that what they call throwing your own son out at 17? I stayed calm. I smiled. But then came the real reason they called me here. "So, we were thinking," my mom started, glancing at Matt. "Maybe you could help us out. You know, your stepbrother's in a bit of trouble. The Mustang payments, some credit cards, and we're behind on the house." There it was. The truth. They didn't want me. They wanted my money. I looked them straight in the eyes and said something I'd waited years to say. Why would I help people who taught me that I was worth nothing? My dad froze. Mom blinked. Matt looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. I stood up to leave. But just as I turned my back, my mom grabbed my wrist and whispered something that made my blood run cold. "If you don't help us, we'll tell everyone how you really got that money." My heart stopped, because the thing is, they know something. About me no one else does. And if that secret comes out, everything I built could come crashing down. I froze. For a moment I couldn't even breathe. "What did you just say?" I whispered, locking eyes with her. She leaned in closer, her voice, cold. You think we don't remember? You think we forgot what happened before you left? My heart raced. My mind went back to that night, the night I left home for good. The one memory I buried, hoping it would never resurface. But now, they were using it against me. Matt smirked, that smug, petty smirk that made me want to punch something. You should have erased the security footage better, bro, he said under his breath. Security footage. They still had it. They still had the only proof of what I did and what I took. I sat back down slowly, no longer in control. Everything I had built, the company, the mansion, the private car collection, it was all balanced on this secret I thought was long gone. Mom smiled sweetly. You help us out, quietly, no questions asked, and we make sure that footage stays buried. My brain was on fire, my skin ice cold, because that video doesn't just show me breaking into Dad's office. It shows what I stole, not money, not jewelry. I stole the prototype, the one Dad claimed was lost in a fire, the same prototype I used to build my billion-dollar software. I should have walked away that night and never looked back. But I didn't. And now, they had the one thing that could end me. I leaned in, kept my face calm, and said, "Fine, you'll get what you want." But as I walked away from that dinner table, one thought consumed me. If they want to play dirty, they have no idea what I'm capable of now, because what they don't know is I've already set a trap, and the moment they try to use that footage, everything will backfire. The next morning, I sat in front of my wall-sized screen, scanning every piece of data tied to my past, emails, old drive backups, even a hidden cloud storage folder I hadn't opened in years, the one titled Failsafe. Inside it, a full chain of messages, time-stamped, screenshotted, audio recordings, all from back then, all showing exactly how that prototype really came to be. Here's the twist no one ever knew. That prototype? It wasn't Dad's idea. It was mine. I pitched it to him at 16. I sketched it. I coded the rough version. He laughed and said it was cute. Then 3 months later, he tried to patent it under his name, but he failed, because he didn't understand the tech. I did. That night, when I stole it, I wasn't stealing anything. I was just taking back what was already mine, and now I had proof. The problem? The footage looked like theft. Out of context, it could ruin me. So I had to move first, faster, smarter. I picked up my phone and called Sarah, my only real friend from back then, now a cybersecurity analyst at a top agency. She owed me, and she never forgot how my parents treated me. Still good at making problems disappear? I asked. She laughed. Better than ever. Who we targeting? I sent her the location of the house, my old home, and one sentence. There's a drive hidden under the floorboards. Get it, today. By noon, she texted back, got it. And guess what? It's encrypted, but not well. This drive has more than the video. It has everything. Your dad's secret patents, financial fraud, even fake signatures. My hands shook as I read her message. They didn't just want to blackmail me. They wanted me to stay silent about the crimes they committed, and now I had everything I needed. But I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to destroy them, publicly, legally, permanently. So I called my lawyer, and I set the date for the family meeting they'd never forget. But what happened at that meeting? Even I didn't see it coming. The day of the family meeting arrived faster than I expected. I had everything lined up, the drive with their secrets, my lawyer, a fully prepared plan to take down the empire they built on lies. My parents would finally understand what it felt like to be the one on the outside, the one they tried to destroy. I arrived at the meeting spot, a high-end law office they had no idea I'd rented for the day. When I walked in, the tension was already thick enough to cut with a knife. Mom, Dad, and Matt were seated at the table, all looking like they'd just received a punch in the gut. They were expecting something small, maybe a little negotiation, a few favors exchanged to keep me quiet. But they had no idea what I had planned. Dad didn't even look at me when I sat down. Instead, he adjusted his tie and cleared his throat. "So, how can we make this go away, son?" I couldn't help but laugh. His words were so calm, but they felt so hollow. He still thought he could control the situation, like he always did. But this time, he was wrong. I smiled coldly and slid a file across the table toward them. "You don't get to make it go away. Not this time. This time, you listen." My mom's eyes flicked to the file, then to me. She knew. She knew exactly what was coming. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You remember the night you kicked me out?" I started slowly, letting the words hang in the air. "Well, you didn't just destroy my life, you destroyed your own." I stood up and clicked a button on my phone, pulling up the footage from the drive Sarah had recovered. The video that my parents had tried to use against me. But now, the footage wasn't the only thing on display. I pressed play, and my parents' eyes widened in horror as the screen filled with images of their own fraudulent activities, hidden bank accounts, and falsified documents. My father's face turned pale as the footage revealed everything. The illegal patents he'd stolen from me, the accounts he'd opened in my name to funnel money into his own pockets, and the way he'd manipulated everyone around him for years. And then, just to seal the deal, I pulled up another file, an encrypted message from my old team, the one I'd worked with in silence, far away from their prying eyes. They had already tracked every dollar, every move. It wasn't just a betrayal anymore. It was a war. Mom gasped, clutching the edge of the table as she saw the full scale of what was about to happen. You wouldn't dare?" But I didn't. "Stop there." I stood tall, looking at each one of them in turn. "You didn't think I knew, did you? You didn't think I could build something bigger than your petty empire. I didn't just survive you, I surpassed you. And now, I'm going to make sure the world knows exactly who you are." I turned to my lawyer. "Everything's ready. Release it." In an instant, the files were sent to the press. A media storm started to brew, and within hours, the truth about my parents' decades of lies and crime spread across every news outlet. Their names were dragged through the mud. They were no longer the untouchable figures they once were, the powerful, respected parents who thought they could control everything. And then came the final blow. I walked out of the office, leaving my family behind in their own personal nightmare. They were left in a state of utter disbelief, scrambling to clean up the wreckage I had left behind. I had done more than just expose them. I had taken back my power. I had shown the world who the real villain was. And it wasn't me. But what I didn't expect was how good it would feel to finally be free. To finally not have to answer to them. And as the phone kept ringing with messages from people who had once turned their backs on me, all I could think was one thing. Sometimes revenge is not about destruction. It's about showing who you are, without their shadow. The story I once thought would never be mine was now in my hands. And it wasn't just a story of betrayal anymore. It was a story of strength. And as for my family, they would never forget the day I proved who had the power all along.